Earth's deadliest predator, shocked the galaxy, thanks to humans. The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with nervous energy as representatives from dozens of species gathered for the emergency session. Ambassador Zeftar of the Crystalline Collective tapped his translucent fingers against the obsidian table, creating a melodic chime that echoed through the vast dome. The subject of today's meeting was unprecedented in the Council's 3,000-year history: humans. More specifically, what humans had brought with them from their primitive planet called Earth. "Order! Order!" called Supreme Chancellor Vexhai, her forearms gesturing dramatically as her gill slits fluttered with agitation. The amphibious leader of the Council had seen many crises, but nothing quite like this. "We are here to discuss the situation involving the newest members of our galactic community." Ambassador Sarah Chen sat calmly in the human delegation area, her dark eyes scanning the room with practiced diplomacy. Beside her, Dr. Marcus Webb fidgeted with his tablet, occasionally glancing at the sealed containment unit that had caused such an uproar. Behind them, Captain Elena Rodriguez maintained her military bearing despite the hostile glances from nearly every other delegation. "The charges are serious," continued Chancellor Vexhai. "The human species is accused of introducing a biological weapon of mass destruction into civilized space, a creature so dangerous that it has already caused 3 planetary evacuations and the temporary closure of 7 major trade routes." Murmurs rippled through the assembly. The Thorvanian representative, a being that resembled a cross between a praying mantis and a tree, clicked his mandibles ominously. "These humans claim ignorance, but how could any species be so careless? They have unleashed terror upon the galaxy." Ambassador Chen rose slowly, her movements deliberate and unthreatening. She had learned much about galactic politics in the 6 months since humanity's first contact with alien civilizations. Most species in the galaxy had evolved from prey animals or peaceful herbivores. The concept of apex predators was almost foreign to them. "Honored delegates," she began, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber's acoustic enhancement system. "I understand your concerns, but I assure you that humanity had no intention of causing harm. The creature you're referring to was simply a companion." A collective gasp arose from the assembly. The ethereal representative, a being of pure energy contained within a crystalline shell, pulsed with disbelief. "A companion? You call that nightmare a companion?" Chancellor Vexhai activated the holographic display at the center of the chamber. What appeared was footage from the first human diplomatic vessel to arrive at Proxima Station, the galaxy's largest trade hub. The video showed Ambassador Chen stepping off the ship, followed by Dr. Webb and several other humans. Then, trailing behind them on some kind of flexible tether, came the creature. Even in the hologram, its presence was intimidating. It moved with fluid grace on 4 muscular legs, its body covered in short fur that gleamed under the station's artificial lights. Its head was broad and powerful, with forward-facing eyes that suggested a hunting predator. Most terrifying of all was its mouth, which occasionally opened to reveal sharp white teeth and a long pink tongue. The chamber erupted in chaos as various delegates recalled their first encounters with the beast. The Centaurian ambassador had fainted dead away upon seeing it. The representative from the peaceful collective had required emergency medical treatment for shock-induced system failure. Even the usually stoic members of the Machine Intelligence Coalition had quickly calculated that the creature posed a 97.3% probability of being a biological weapon. "Order!" Chancellor Vexhai shouted again. "Let the human delegation explain themselves." Dr. Webb stood up, clearing his throat nervously. As Earth's leading xenobiologist, he had been chosen specifically for this mission because of his expertise in interspecies relations. However, nothing in his training had prepared him for this level of galactic panic. "Esteemed colleagues," he began, I believe there has been a significant misunderstanding. The creature you see is indeed a predator from Earth, but it's not a weapon. It's what we call a dog. More specifically, this is Max, a golden retriever. Well, he's my pet. The silence that followed was so complete that the ambient hum of the station's life support system seemed deafening. Pet. The word didn't translate well into most galactic languages. The concept of keeping a predator as a companion was so alien to most species that their translation matrices simply couldn't process it. The Thorvanian ambassador was the first to break the silence. You keep predators as companions? Not just any predators, Dr. Webb explained, warming to his subject. Dogs have been humanity's companions for over 30,000 years. Through selective breeding and mutual evolution, they've become loyal friends, protectors, and family members. Max here is trained to sit, stay, fetch, and perform dozens of other commands. He's completely harmless to any being that doesn't threaten his pack. As if summoned by his name, Max appeared on the chamber's main screen via live feed from his containment area. The golden retriever was lying on his side, tail wagging lazily as he watched the proceedings through the transparent aluminum barrier. His tongue lolled out in what humans recognized as contentment, but which appeared to the galactic delegates as a display of barely contained aggression. "Look at those fangs!" whispered the gossamer representative, her ethereal wings trembling with fear. "And those eyes! They track movement like a missile targeting system," added the Quantum Collective's spokesperson. Ambassador Chen realized that standard diplomatic protocols weren't going to work here. These beings had no frame of reference for understanding the relationship between humans and dogs. She needed to try a different approach. "May I propose a demonstration?" she asked. The chamber fell silent again. Chancellor Vexhigh's gill slits fluttered rapidly as she considered the request. "What kind of demonstration?" "Let me show you how Max interacts with humans. I promise you'll be perfectly safe. The containment field will remain active, and I'll have a full security escort." After much deliberation and the establishment of multiple backup containment protocols, the demonstration was approved. The live feed switched to show Ambassador Chen entering Max's containment area, escorted by a full squad of station security officers in powered armor. The effect on Max was immediate and dramatic. The moment he saw Ambassador Chen, his tail began wagging so vigorously that his entire body wiggled with excitement. He rushed to her side, pressing against her legs and looking up at her with obvious adoration. The security officers tensed, weapons at the ready, but Chen simply reached down and scratched Max behind the ears. The gesture produced an even more alarming sound from the dog, a low rumbling noise that the galaxy's finest acoustic analysts immediately identified as threatening. "He's purring!" shouted the feline collective representative in horror. "It's expressing satisfaction at capturing prey." "No, no," Chen laughed, the sound causing several delegates to flinch. "That's not purring. Dogs don't purr. That's just his breathing. He's panting because he's excited and happy to see me." She demonstrated several basic commands, each one causing more consternation among the watchers. When Max sat on command, they saw a predator assuming an attack position. When he lay down, they witnessed a hunter preparing to pounce. When he rolled over to show his belly, exposing what humans saw as trust and submission, the delegates perceived a creature displaying its weapon-ready claws and preparing for close-quarters combat. The situation reached its peak when Ambassador Chen produced what she called a tennis ball from her pocket. The sphere was covered in a bright yellow material that made it highly visible. She held it up for Max to see, and his reaction was immediate. His ears perked up, his eyes locked onto the ball with laser focus, and his body tensed with anticipation. "This," Chen announced to the chamber, "is Max's favorite game." She threw the ball across the containment area. Max exploded into motion, his powerful legs propelling him across the space with startling speed. He intercepted the ball's trajectory with mathematical precision, catching it in his mouth mid-air before landing gracefully and immediately returning to Chen's side. The galactic representatives sat in stunned silence. They had just witnessed what appeared to be a perfectly executed hunting sequence. The creature had demonstrated incredible speed, agility, and tactical intelligence. It had captured its prey with ruthless efficiency and then returned to its handler for further instructions. "By the 17 moons of Zentar," breathed the Pacifist Alliance representative. "How many of these creatures do humans possess?" Dr. Webb consulted his tablet. Current estimates suggest approximately 900 million dogs worldwide, representing several hundred distinct breeds. Some are larger and more physically capable than Max, others are smaller and more agile. All of them have been bred for specific traits that complement human activities. The number hit the assembly like a plasma cannon blast. 900 million weaponized predators, all under human control. The implications were staggering. "And this is just one species?" asked the Crystal Collective ambassador, his normally melodious voice cracking with strain. "Oh no," Captain Rodriguez spoke for the first time, her military bearing adding weight to her words. "Dogs are just one example. Humans have domesticated hundreds of species for various purposes. We have creatures for transportation, food production, companionship, and specialized work roles." She activated her own tablet and displayed images that caused several delegates to require medical attention. Horses, massive beasts capable of crushing enemies under their hooves. Cats, smaller but clearly more sophisticated predators with retractable claws and night vision capabilities. Cattle, enormous creatures that could trample entire platoons. Birds of prey with razor-sharp talons and incredible aerial capabilities. "We estimate," Captain Rodriguez continued with military precision, "that Earth supports approximately 33 billion domesticated animals of various species, all living in harmony with humanity." The peaceful collective representative collapsed entirely, requiring immediate evacuation to the medical bay. The ethereal being's energy form flickered wildly before stabilizing at emergency power levels. Even the Machine Intelligence Coalition's processors seemed to struggle with calculating the tactical implications of this revelation. Chancellor Vexhai called for a recess, but the damage was done. Word of humanity's biological arsenal had already spread beyond the chamber through quantum communication networks. Across the galaxy, defense forces went to high alert. Trade routes were recalculated to avoid human space. Emergency sessions were called on dozens of worlds. Back in the containment area, Max had retrieved his tennis ball and was now lying contentedly at Ambassador Chen's feet. Completely oblivious to the galactic crisis his simple game of fetch had triggered. His tail continued to wag slowly, and his eyes followed every movement of his human companions with the devoted attention that had made him humanity's best friend for millennia. As the delegates filed out of the chamber in various states of shock and panic, one thing became clear: the galaxy would never look at humanity the same way again. The species that had seemed so similar to other peaceful civilizations had just revealed themselves to be something unprecedented in galactic history. A race of predators who had somehow convinced the entire food chain of their home planet to work with them willingly. And if they could do that with their own world's creatures, what exactly were their intentions for the rest of the galaxy? Earth's deadliest predator shocked the galaxy. Thanks to humans, the emergency broadcast reached every inhabited system in the galaxy within 6 hours of the Council session's conclusion. Admiral Quenthos of the Hegemony Defense Force stood before the massive tactical display in Fleet Command, watching as red warning icons appeared across hundreds of star charts. His scaled hide rippled with anxiety as he processed the intelligence reports flooding in from across civilized space. "Admiral," his communications officer reported, her voice tight with stress. We're receiving evacuation requests from 17 major trade stations. The Proxima hub alone has lost 60% of its population in the last 3 hours. Quenthos nodded grimly. As a member of the reptilian Saurian Confederacy, he understood predator mentality better than most galactic citizens. His people had evolved from pack hunters before achieving sentience and abandoning their aggressive nature in favor of logic and cooperation. But even his species had never attempted anything as audacious as what the humans appeared to have accomplished. "Show me the biological analysis reports," he commanded. The display shifted to show detailed scans of the creature called Max. The data was terrifying in its implications. Bite force calculations showed the animal could easily crush bone and metal alloys. Its cardiovascular system indicated incredible endurance and speed capabilities. Most alarming were the behavioral matrices that suggested pack hunting intelligence and the ability to coordinate complex tactical maneuvers. "Sir," his tactical officer spoke up, "we've also received reports of additional human vessels en route to various systems. Each ship's cargo manifests list biological specimens." The Admiral's blood ran cold. An invasion fleet, each vessel carrying unknown numbers of weaponized creatures. The humans had played their hand perfectly, appearing as peaceful diplomats while positioning their biological weapons throughout galactic space. Meanwhile, aboard the human research vessel, Harmony, Dr. Webb was dealing with his own crisis. The ship's communication array was overloaded with incoming messages from across the galaxy. Requests for interviews, demands for biological data, and increasingly frantic questions about humanity's intentions flooded the channels. "Sarah," he called to Ambassador Chen, who was frantically trying to coordinate responses with Earth Command. "We need to do something. This situation is spiraling completely out of control." Chen looked up from her console, exhaustion evident in her features. "I know. Earth Command is sending reinforcements, but they're 3 days out. The Secretary General wants us to maintain diplomatic protocols, but I don't think the galaxy is in a mood for diplomatic protocols right now." Captain Rodriguez entered the bridge carrying a datapad and looking concerned. "It gets worse. I've been monitoring military communications. At least 6 major powers are mobilizing their fleets. They think we're preparing for some kind of biological warfare campaign." Dr. Webb ran his hands through his hair in frustration. "This is insane. It's just Max. He's a completely normal dog who likes tennis balls and belly rubs." "Normal to us," Chen reminded him. "To them, he's something out of their worst nightmares." The situation had indeed spiraled beyond anything humanity could have anticipated. On the mining world of Kepler 442b, the arrival of a human geological survey team had triggered a complete planetary evacuation when their samples were detected. The samples in question were actually a pair of search and rescue dogs trained to locate survivors in collapsed cave systems. To the mineral-based life forms native to the system, however, the dogs appeared to be living weapons capable of tracking their crystalline signatures through solid rock. In the Andromeda trade corridor, shipping companies were refusing to transport human cargo after rumors spread about biological agents being found in human supply containers. The agents were actually therapy cats being shipped to human colonies for psychological support services. Unfortunately, the cat's hunting instincts and nocturnal behavior patterns had convinced security scanners that they were sophisticated infiltration units designed for covert operations. Perhaps most seriously, the Temporal Collective had begun questioning whether humanity's arrival in galactic space represented a natural development or some kind of predatory expansion strategy that had been planned for millennia. Their analysis of Earth's evolutionary history revealed a pattern that terrified them. Humans had systematically conquered their planet's entire ecosystem, bringing everything from massive predators to microscopic organisms under their control. "Look at these numbers," the collective's prime calculator transmitted to emergency sessions across the galaxy. They claim to have domesticated over 40,000 species. That represents complete biological domination of their world's ecosystem. No known civilization has ever achieved such comprehensive control over their planet's life forms. Back on Earth, the Global Defense Council was convening its own emergency sessions. Secretary General Maria Santos stood before assembled world leaders, trying to make sense of reports from their off-world diplomatic teams. "Let me understand this correctly," she said, addressing Dr. James Morrison, Earth's chief xenobiologist. "The galactic community is in complete panic because Marcus brought his dog to a diplomatic meeting?" Dr. Morrison nodded wearily. "It's worse than that. They've interpreted our entire relationship with domestic animals as evidence of some kind of biological warfare capability. They think we've weaponized our entire biosphere." "Have we?" asked General Harrison, commander of Earth's Space Force. The question hung in the air uncomfortably. From a certain perspective, humans had indeed created a planet where nearly every major species served human purposes in some way. Agriculture, transportation, companionship, security, research. There were few areas of human civilization that didn't involve cooperation with other species. "Not intentionally," Dr. Morrison replied finally. "But I can see how it might appear that way to beings who never developed similar relationships." Meanwhile, the crisis was taking on new dimensions as more human vessels arrived at their assigned destinations. On the research station orbiting Wolf 359, Dr. Lisa Chang's arrival with her team of marine biologists caused a complete shutdown of the facility when her specimens were detected. The specimens were dolphins and octopi being transported for intelligence research. To the aquatic species running the station, however, they appeared to be apex marine predators under human control. The dolphins' sonar capabilities were interpreted as advanced scanning and targeting systems. The octopi's problem-solving abilities and camouflage skills were seen as evidence of sophisticated espionage training. When one of the dolphins began performing the tricks it had learned during its time at SeaWorld, jumping, spinning, and interacting playfully with its trainers, the station's AI defense systems classified the display as a demonstration of coordinated aquatic assault capabilities. Similar scenes were playing out across human-contacted space. A team of agricultural specialists caused a diplomatic incident when their honeybee specimens were detected on a pollinator world. The bees' complex communication systems and coordinated behavior patterns convinced the local flower-based life forms that humans had developed biological communication networks capable of coordinating simultaneous strikes across vast distances. Dr. Webb realized that humanity needed to take unprecedented action to prevent what was rapidly becoming a galaxy-wide conflict. Working with Ambassador Chen and Captain Rodriguez, he developed a plan that would either solve the crisis or make it infinitely worse. "We need to show them the truth," he announced during an emergency conference call with Earth Command. "Not just about Max, but about our entire relationship with animals." "What do you propose?" asked Secretary General Santos. "Full transparency. We bring representatives from every major galactic power to Earth. Let them see our cities, our farms, our homes. Let them witness firsthand how humans and animals actually interact." The proposal was audacious and dangerous. Bringing potentially hostile alien delegations to Earth's surface would expose humanity's home world to reconnaissance and possible attack. But conventional diplomacy had failed completely, and the situation was deteriorating by the hour. "They'll see our vulnerabilities," General Harrison warned. "Our defensive positions, our population centers, our infrastructure." "They'll also see children playing with puppies," Chen countered. "They'll see farmers working with horses, police officers partnering with search dogs, and families sharing their homes with cats. They'll see that our biological weapons are actually our friends." The debate raged for hours across multiple time zones and communication networks. Intelligence agencies argued about security risks. Military commanders calculated defensive scenarios. Diplomatic corps weighed the potential for cultural exchange against the possibility of invasion. While Earth's leaders debated, the galactic crisis continued to escalate. The Crystalline Collective announced that they were establishing quarantine zones around all systems with human presence. The Pacifist Alliance called for preemptive defensive action to protect innocent civilizations from human biological aggression. Even the usually neutral Trade Federation began implementing restrictions on human commerce. Dr. Webb watched these developments with growing alarm. What had started as a simple misunderstanding about his dog was rapidly becoming an existential threat to humanity's place in galactic civilization. Unless something changed soon, humans would find themselves completely isolated from the galactic community, branded as biological terrorists and pariahs. The decision, when it came, was made by an unexpected source. Max himself provided the catalyst for humanity's next move, when a routine medical examination revealed something that would change everything. The station's veterinary AI, while conducting standard health scans, discovered something in Max's genetic structure that had gone unnoticed by human scientists. "Ambassador Chen," Dr. Webb called urgently, "you need to see this immediately." The genetic analysis showed clear evidence of selective breeding spanning thousands of generations, but more importantly, it revealed the biological markers of what the AI classified as voluntary symbiosis, genetic adaptations that could only have occurred through willing partnership between species. "What does this mean?" Chen asked. "It means Max's ancestors chose to work with humans, not just once, but continuously for over 30,000 years. Every generation, every breeding cycle, every adaptation. It was all voluntary. The dogs chose us as much as we chose them." This discovery would change everything. But first, humanity had to survive long enough to share it. Across the galaxy, military fleets were mobilizing, trade routes were closing, and diplomatic channels were shutting down. The clock was ticking toward a confrontation that nobody wanted, but everyone seemed powerless to prevent. As Dr. Webb looked at Max sleeping peacefully in his containment area, still holding his tennis ball, he realized that the fate of human civilization now rested on proving something that should have been obvious from the beginning: that some of the strongest bonds in the universe are built not on dominance and control, but on friendship, trust, and love. Earth's deadliest predator shocked the galaxy. Thanks to humans, the Harmony dropped out of hyperspace, 3 astronomical units from Earth, followed by the largest diplomatic fleet in galactic history. 47 ships representing every major civilization floated in formation, their sensors trained on the blue-green world that had suddenly become the most dangerous planet in known space. Admiral Quenthos commanded the escort fleet from his flagship, the Righteous Scales. Despite his military instincts screaming warnings about approaching a predator homeworld, he had agreed to Secretary General Santos's proposal for a comprehensive demonstration of human-animal relationships. The galactic crisis had escalated to the point where only complete transparency could prevent an interstellar war. Sensor readings confirmed the presence of massive biological signatures across the planet's surface, reported his science officer. The concentration of life forms is unprecedented. Indeed, Earth's biosphere was unlike anything in galactic records. Most civilized worlds supported a few hundred species at most, with careful ecological management to prevent competition and conflict. Earth teemed with millions of species in complex, interconnected relationships that seemed impossible to understand, let alone control. "How do they manage it all?" whispered the ethereal representative aboard the diplomatic vessel Harmony of Spheres. Their energy-based consciousness found the chaotic vitality of Earth almost overwhelming. Dr. Webb had spent the 3-day journey preparing his presentation with meticulous care. He knew this was humanity's only chance to explain their true relationship with Earth's creatures. The genetic analysis of Max had provided crucial evidence, but convincing dozens of terrified civilizations would require much more than scientific data. "Welcome to Earth," Ambassador Chen broadcast to the fleet as they achieved stable orbit. We're honored to host this historic gathering, and we hope that by the end of your visit you'll understand that humans and animals aren't conquerors and weapons. We're partners and friends. The first shuttle landed at the specially prepared demonstration site in Kenya, where the Masai Mara provided a perfect example of wildlife conservation in action. Dr. Webb had chosen this location specifically because it showcased both wild animals and human stewardship in their natural environment. As the alien delegates emerged from their protective suits and containment fields, they found themselves face to face with something that defied their understanding of predator-prey relationships. A family of elephants wandered peacefully near human rangers, massive creatures that could easily destroy any threat, yet seemed completely comfortable with human presence. "Those beasts," gasped the Crystalline Collective representative. "They could crush your vehicles, your buildings, everything. Why don't they attack?" Dr. Sarah Kim, Earth's leading animal behaviorist, smiled as she gestured toward the elephant matriarch. "Because we're not a threat to them. These elephants know that humans protect their territory, provide medical care when they're sick, and help ensure their calves grow up safely. We've built trust over generations." To demonstrate, Dr. Kim approached the elephants slowly, speaking in soft tones. The matriarch, a massive female named Temba, who had known human caretakers for over 40 years, extended her trunk in greeting. The gentle interaction between a tiny human and a creature that weighed 6 tons left the galactic observers stunned. "The human is displaying submission behaviors," observed the Saurian military advisor. "Classic appeasement postures to avoid triggering an attack." "Not submission," Dr. Kim corrected gently. "Respect. Watch Temba's body language. Her ears are relaxed, her trunk movements are gentle, and she's choosing to interact with me. If she felt threatened or aggressive, her posture would be completely different." As if understanding the conversation, Temba rumbled softly and used her trunk to dust Dr. Kim's clothing clean, a grooming behavior that elephants typically reserved for family members. The next demonstration took place at a working ranch in Montana, where the delegates witnessed something even more bewildering: humans riding on the backs of massive creatures called horses. To species that had never developed symbiotic relationships, the sight appeared to be humans controlling powerful biological weapons through some form of mind control. Cowboy Jake Morrison, Dr. Morrison's nephew, had volunteered to demonstrate the human-horse partnership. His horse, Spirit, was a quarter-horse mare who had been working cattle for 8 years. To the watching aliens, the coordination between human and horse as they herded cattle looked like a perfectly synchronized military operation. "The human has somehow interfaced with the creature's nervous system," speculated the machine intelligence representative. "Notice how the beast responds to subtle commands, almost as if they share a neural link." Jake overheard the comment and laughed, causing several delegates to flinch at the predatory display of teeth. "Neural link? I wish it was that fancy. Spirit and I just know each other really well. She's been my partner for most of her life. We communicate through pressure, movement, and trust." To prove his point, Jake dismounted and removed Spirit's bridle and saddle entirely. Then, with only voice commands and gentle touches, he guided the horse through the same complex maneuvers they had performed while he was riding. The horse responded eagerly, clearly enjoying the interaction and the mental challenge. "Impossible," muttered the Thorvanian observer. "No creature would willingly submit to direction without neural control implants or fear conditioning." The most powerful demonstration, however, took place at a suburban home in Ohio, where the delegates met the Thompson family. Jim and Maria Thompson had volunteered to show their normal daily life with their 3 children and 2 dogs, a German shepherd named Rex and a beagle named Daisy. As the alien delegation watched through remote viewing systems, Too nervous to approach directly, they witnessed something that challenged every assumption they had made about human-animal relationships. 6-year-old Emma Thompson was playing fetch with Rex in the backyard, while her baby brother napped peacefully beside Daisy on a blanket. "The large predator could kill that offspring in seconds," observed the Pacifist Alliance representative with horror. "How can the adult humans allow this proximity?" "Because Rex would die before letting harm come to any of these children," Jim Thompson explained calmly. "He's not just our pet, he's family. Those kids are his pack, and his instinct is to protect them, not hunt them." As if summoned by the conversation, 2-year-old Bobby Thompson woke up from his nap and immediately grabbed Daisy's ears with the ungentle enthusiasm typical of toddlers. Instead of responding with aggression, Daisy simply licked the child's face and wagged her tail, generating delighted giggles that echoed through the yard. The sight of Earth's supposedly most dangerous predators allowing themselves to be manhandled by defenseless human offspring finally began to crack the galaxy's preconceptions. Dr. Webb seized the moment to present his genetic analysis findings. "What you're seeing," he explained to the assembled delegates via holographic link, "is the result of 30,000 years of coevolution. When we first encountered wolves, the ancestors of modern dogs, both species made a choice. Humans chose to share food and shelter. Wolves chose to share loyalty and protection. Each generation since then has reinforced that choice." The genetic data painted a clear picture. Dogs had evolved alongside humans, developing enhanced social intelligence, improved communication abilities, and stronger emotional bonds. But the changes weren't one-sided. Human evolution had also been influenced by their relationship with dogs, developing better cooperation skills, enhanced empathy, and improved social structures. "This is voluntary symbiosis," Dr. Webb continued. "Neither species controls the other. We've both changed to work better together, and both species have benefited enormously from the partnership." Similar evidence existed for every domesticated species on Earth. Horses had developed greater intelligence and stronger emotional bonds with humans. Cats had evolved enhanced hunting abilities that served human needs while retaining their independence. Even cattle and sheep had benefited from human protection, breeding, and care, becoming larger, healthier, and more prosperous than their wild ancestors. The breakthrough moment came when young Emma Thompson decided to demonstrate her favorite trick with Rex. She had taught the German Shepherd to play dead on command, a simple game that children and dogs had enjoyed for generations. But to the watching aliens, the implications were staggering. "Command! Terminate!" Emma said in her high-pitched voice, pointing her finger at Rex like a weapon. Rex immediately collapsed to the ground and lay completely still, tongue lolling out and eyes closed. He remained motionless until Emma giggled and said, "Good boy, Rex. You can get up now." The massive predator immediately sprang to his feet, tail wagging furiously as Emma hugged him and praised his performance. "A 6-year-old human child just commanded an apex predator to simulate death," the Quantum Collective's analyst reported in disbelief. "And the creature obeyed willingly, even appearing to enjoy the experience." For the first time since the crisis began, the galactic observers began to see human-animal relationships in a different light. This wasn't domination through fear or control through technology. This was genuine cooperation based on mutual affection and trust. The final demonstration took place at the San Diego Zoo, where Dr. Martinez walked among creatures that represented Earth's most dangerous predators. Lions, tigers, bears, and wolves, all living in carefully maintained environments that prioritize their health and happiness over human convenience. "These animals could kill me easily," Dr. Martinez explained to his fascinated audience. "But they don't, because I'm not a threat to them. I'm part of the team that feeds them, cares for them, and ensures they have everything they need to live good lives." As he spoke, a massive Siberian tiger named Khan approached the fence of his enclosure. Instead of displaying aggression, the tiger chuffed, a friendly greeting sound, and rubbed against the fence near where Dr. Martinez stood. The sight of a human and a 600-pound predator showing mutual affection finally shattered the last of the galaxy's resistance to understanding. Chancellor Vexihai, who had been watching from the flagship, requested a private communication with Ambassador Chen. "I believe," she said slowly, "that we may have misunderstood your species' intentions." "We never intended any harm," Chen replied. "Humans have always believed that life is better when different species work together instead of fighting each other." Over the next several days, as delegates toured farms, homes, research facilities, and conservation areas, a new picture of humanity emerged. Instead of ruthless conquerors who had enslaved their world's creatures, humans appeared to be natural diplomats who had somehow negotiated peace treaties with their entire biosphere. The revelation transformed galactic politics overnight. Species that had been preparing for war began requesting cultural exchange programs. The Crystalline Collective wanted to study human agricultural techniques. The ethereal beings asked about human emotional bonding mechanisms. Even the Machine Intelligence Coalition expressed interest in human-animal communication protocols. Dr. Webb found himself appointed as the first galactic ambassador for interspecies relations, tasked with helping other civilizations develop their own companion relationships with suitable species. Max, meanwhile, became something of a celebrity, featured in documentaries and educational programs across hundreds of worlds. The crisis that had nearly triggered an interstellar war became instead the foundation for a new era of galactic cooperation. Humans shared their knowledge of animal behavior, genetics, and symbiosis freely with any species that wanted to learn. In return, the galaxy shared its technological and scientific achievements, accelerating human development by centuries. Years later, as Dr. Webb watched alien children playing with specially bred companion creatures in parks across the galaxy, he reflected on how a simple game of fetch had changed the course of galactic history. Max, now elderly but still enthusiastic about tennis balls, had become living proof that the universe's strongest bonds weren't forged through conquest or control, but through friendship, trust, and love. The galaxy had learned that humanity's deadliest weapon wasn't any creature at all. It was their unprecedented ability to turn enemies into friends, competitors into partners, and predators into family. And in a universe full of conflict and competition, that turned out to be the most powerful force of all.